inviting Sri Sanjay Kumar Jha, IS Secretary, Chandigarh Union Territory, for his inaugural address. Sanjay Jha is a civil engineer, BTech from MTech from IIT Kanpur, IIT Delhi, respectively. Mr. Jha is an IS of AGMUT and currently serving as Secretary, Government of Territory, Chandigarh. Jha Sahab has been a for a couch of disaster management in the country for past 2 decades, right from the day when he was serving in the Revenue Department of Government of NCT of Delhi and took up a large number of initiatives as part of his role as a state project officer of Government of India UNDP Disaster Risk Management Program. Parallelly, he was part of the select few in the country for the induction of incident command system in India as a structured disaster management system. He has been the CEO disaster management in Government of NCT of Delhi as a part of Delhi Disaster Management Authority introduced several measures of disaster management having long-term impact to improve the capacity of government and represented the government in large number of national and international fora, including World Disaster Congress. His passion for subject also led to a formal MBA degree, though he was an IS. In fact, it is his passion towards the subject which brings him among us today. Jha Sahab, please you start your inaugural speech. We will love to hear you. Jha Sahab.
Hello.
Ji.
So, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Honorable Member NDMA, Rajendra Singh Ji, other distinguished and eminent dignitaries, and Director Fire Services. First of all, I compliment and congratulate Director Fire Service, Delhi Fire Services for taking this initiative. And
आपका वीडियो ऑफ है, प्लीज वीडियो ऑन कर दें.
वीडियो
कैमरा सर.
Camera. Is it available now?
कैमरा ऑन कैसे होता है? क्या?
वीडियो ऑफ है, भेजी जाए जल्दी से.
देख लो, आइए उससे बात हो रही है. सेक्रेटरी
विजिबल ना?
आवाज आ रही है, कैमरा नहीं है.
Only. We can't see me.
जी, हम लोग आपको देख नहीं पा रहे हैं.
कंटिन्यू, कोई दिक्कत.
Let me continue.
लेकिन आप कंटिन्यू करें सर.
हाँ, कोई फायदा नहीं.
See, I congratulate Director Delhi Fire Services for taking this initiative. The knowledge for disaster management needs to be updated, shared, disseminated again and again. एक बार कर लेने से काम नहीं चलता कि हमने एक कोई बार इंटरेक्शन किया और बात खत्म हो गई. See, we do not take your boss for granted. You have to perform consistently, then only he is happy. Similarly, knowledge that you gain in any subject, you need to update it, disseminate it, share it again and again with the all stakeholders. With this I start with this, that the hospital under Sendai framework forms as the critical infrastructure which needs to be substantially damage free after a disaster, because सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत जो है हॉस्पिटल की आफ्टर डिजास्टर ही होती है. And if the hospitals themselves are damaged in any disaster, if they are not intact, if they are not accessible and functioning, the whole purpose of hospital gets defeated. And therefore, we need to understand that this is a critical infrastructure, and what are the things which make it intact, accessible, and functioning? First is the structural safety. Then is the that it should have all the essential medicine and equipments accessible and safe to the be available so that disasters can be attended. So for the hospitals, it is not only the physical safety which is important, the safety, functional safety is also important. That needs to be kept in mind. With this thing in mind only, World Health Organization Health Safety Index, which is the probability that a hospital will continue to be safe and operational in any emergency situation. Winston Churchill once said, "Those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Therefore, it's very important while we are discussing this subject to understand the deficiencies that we have faced in the past. The deficiencies are several, but the main deficiencies which can be clubbed as the now video is available with them. The violation of building codes and safety norms like fire safety norms and other safety norms. The hospital community and the administration with it didn't have a disaster management plan. They were not prepared. As we say that they prepared community, the safe community. They didn't have this one. The communication was the critical gap, both internal and external. जो कहते हैं नुक्ते के फेर से खुदा जुदा हो गए. A person would communicate telling something, the other understanding something else. So it's very important that these failures led to a lot of problems. And most of all, another thing, the coordination among different agencies was not there. Coordination among even different hospitals was not there. What was the repercussion? It led to all kind of health impacts. Of course, large number of deaths, social and economic impacts, as we can see in this the aftermath. To the awareness generation aspects, which has been highlighted by Honorable Member NDMA, that what kind of why this kind of interaction, or why this awareness generation is important, and for whom it is important. First of all, is it only important for the government hospitals? No. The answer is it is also important for the private hospitals to incorporate the features of safety in their hospitals. The institutional mechanism is very important as well, because unless you have the very concept of the hospital construction and the functionality of hospital needs the participation of the willing participation of administration, the finance, the urban planning department, PWD, of course, the doctors and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, or anywhere the health department of the state governments. So, among others, because unless these participants are taken on board while preparing the disaster management, the hospital's safety, you will not have the proper safety as it is required. Secondly, we need to understand whether it is only useful for the new hospitals to be constructed or something can be done for the existing hospitals as well. The answer is something can and should be done for the existing hospitals as well. What is called is retrofitting of the existing structures. To reduce the risk in the upcoming buildings and to reduce the vulnerability in the existing buildings, it is important to have these discussions. All stakeholders are on board. And जो कहते हैं शेर से दोस्ती करो, जंगल पे राज करो, it has to follow the top-down approach. The people who are at the level of decision making, they need to be sensitized first. The policy makers, the hospital administration, the architects, engineers, politicians, financial institutions, and of course, all this will be geared only after the community is putting the right kind of pressures on all these stakeholders. When these people meet, what should they talk? They should talk about the vulnerability of the hospitals, where it is located, what are the hazards which is likely to come there, and how can we have a hazard resistant construction? How can we have a retrofitted structure? There is something called non-structural elements in a school or a hospital, their safety, because many a time the building will not fall, but people die because of the AC falling, for example, or some other thing falling, for example. So, and let me, before I forget, the hospitals need to be ready for the worst kind of disaster. If you are ready for that kind of disaster and you are safe and functional, then the job is done. And with this respect, the two disasters which fall in the important category is the earthquakes and the fire. So it's very nice that the fire department has taken this initiative. Fire safety audit of the buildings, and as already emphasized by the member NDMA, that the systems need to have, the hospitals need to have disaster management plan as well, apart from the disaster management plan of the administration with the different stakeholders. In the documents that was sent to me, I felt that probably there is no engineer in this. Because they are very important part in this decision making with respect to the hospitals, which need to be safe and functional. I'll try to fill up for the space for an engineer in brief without being technical. The following things need to be noted in the awareness generation with respect to the hospitals. Let us first see what are the factors that can put in hospital to a risk. First is the structural collapse, the structural elements, non-structural elements, and the very location of the building, design specification, very shape of the building is likely to impact it. Of course, the availability of the basic lifeline services, as I mentioned earlier. So the system will collapse, structurally collapse, if these things are not taken care of. The functional collapse is the most often the usual reason for the hospitals remaining out of order after a disaster is that the labs are not operational, the OT is not operational, the medical records are not available, medical services are not available, the administrative processes are not in operation. So the structural collapse has to be seen parallel with the functional collapse as well. We need to see that the hospitals are not only structurally sound, they should be so sound that they are functional when they are required the most. Now those people who would be the decision making in hospitals, for their knowledge, they are worried. What is the cost implication of this structural safety? It is now well known that this cost is not more than 4% of the investment to incorporate mitigation measures, the total cost. So it's a kind of, let's say, insurance. Your 4% extra expenditure ensures that your buildings are safe, your hospital is up and running after a disaster. Because the makeshift buildings, it has been seen that they are not very cost effective. Somewhere around 15 years back in this regard, the country did not have the right technical expertise to have the structures retrofitted. So the USAID and Geohazards International with them started this work. They selected with the NCT of Delhi 5 structures in the country they selected. One of them was hospital. And the hospital, one of the new buildings that was coming up was selected for this. And the other at that time, in other buildings, they incorporated what is known as base isolation technique. I'll come to that later on. So the expertise, right technical expertise today is not much of a problem. Earlier it was a problem. So let us understand one thing, that resources that I was talking about, finance department on board, resources are important, but equally important is that the vision and the commitment of the administrative machinery of the hospital, this and the doctors, these need to be sound enough. They should also insist, the community should insist, the decision makers should also keep in mind regarding these things. So after this, I'm coming to because the resources are limited, and where do we spend first? So the critical, for the functional aspect, as we have already stated, there are certain critical units which are required for immediate occupancy. At best, we can have fine cracks in them. For other units, well, the life safety standard can be followed, which means it can be damaged, but it not totally collapsed. After this, these are the standards within which we should be there. The site selection itself, when you are constructing a new building, is very important. The site should not be having a sandy soil, what is known as liquefiable ground, which the building simply sinks in the earthquake conditions. It should not be located on hill slopes. It should not be possibly, if it is possible, not be impacted by flood or tsunami. And we can of course take care that the adjoining unsafe buildings, it should not be adjoining an unsafe building. Now I would come to the few basics of the basic mistakes which should not be committed. Basic engineering mistakes should not be committed. These are the material of the structure. It should not be totally unreinforced masonry. There are ways of very small reinforcement which can be added to make it structurally safe in an earthquake. Use of a structural wall, what is known as a shear wall in engineering terminology. This is a wall which is a RC, reinforced concrete wall, which is coming from beam to the ceiling level, and it is not having any gaps. So at least 4% of the plinth area in this structure should not only be a frame structure. It should not be only having columns and beams only. It should have certain shear walls which will take care of its strength during the earthquakes. Like we have shock absorbers in vehicles, we are also, there is a system the technique is known as base isolation technique. Base isolation technique basically reduces the impact of the earthquake on the main structure. So wherever it is possible, we have no examples apart from the one I had the privilege to go right after the Bhuj earthquake, to go there and see the newly constructed hospital turn into a rubble. Subsequently, at that time, New Zealand constructed the first base isolated hospital in Bhuj district. We have in Delhi also few hospitals now where we have done this. The newly constructed the OPD building in the Maulana Azad campus is having this facility. Similarly, the in the shape of the building, you need to take care that the on usual fashion of having the lowest floor open for parking should be avoided, or any floor completely open actually attracts a lot of earthquake energy and the building collapses. You may have seen a lot of building collapsing like a pack of cards because of these reasons. There is a fashion among architects to do not have column. What is known as flat slab building. What happens is that only columns and thick slabs are there, no beams are there. So this is very good to the eyes, but very bad for the earthquake safety. We should not have large cantilever, large spans. So these are few basic things which can be taken care of while constructing the building. This is not something which an engineer only needs to know. This is something which the administration, hospital administration also need to be aware of. Finally, it is also important to have choose the right kind of structures, critical structures, which are required even today, required for the hospital to be retrofitted. Now, who will make these possible? The issue is, it's very important to tell that the building should be structurally safe. Are we having certified masons for that? Are we having licensed engineer for that? Thankfully, the situation has improved much in the last decade. We have now certified masons and licensed engineers in this regard, and which can be taken care of. In fact, the hospital administration need to impanel independent professional agencies on organization on board to look after, to ensure that the structure which is proposed to be constructed is peer reviewed by them, so that these aspects, these concerns are taken care of. They can also and should have, not only can, they should have a nodal officer in the hospital to look after these things in a continuous manner. It should not be something which is done in bits and pieces, so that the accountability at the time he knows the entire thing. He should be able to advise the administration, hospital administration, and the higher administration that the things which are required to be taken care of have actually been taken care of. I do not wish to take it much further. We need to act before it is too late, else we will be repenting in leisure. जो कहते हैं stitch in time saves 9, और better still, लम्हों ने खता की थी, सदियों ने सजा पाई है. We need to avoid all this. I stop at this point and wish a thumping success to today's